The Angry Chicken is a production of amove.tv. Check out Amove TV for more podcasts covering Blizzard games. And for more of Jocelyn's gaming podcasts, visit josplays.com. The Angry Chicken is brought to you by our legendary patrons over at patreon.com/TAC.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Legendary!
You beast Jaraxxus! You smell like a leopard gnome! I knew it! So hot!
A podcast about Hearthstone and Battlegrounds. This is The Angry Chicken!
Greetings and welcome, everyone. This is indeed the Angry Chicken Tack, as we like to call it. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, here with RidiculousHat. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, dude, bro?
We
were talking about this before the show.
That's a callback for people that are here for the live show, but not for the podcast. Yes, we were talking about dude. We were talking about bro. We were talking about Valley Girls and Surfer Bros and all of that jazz. Yeah, man. Folks are going to hear a lot more of you on this program for the near future because Jocelyn will be taking a medical leave of absence, also just known as a break because it's a podcast and we don't have any sort of medical coverage. So, yeah.
For the next 6 weeks, Joss is straight chilling.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hang out.
Yeah. So her official statement is next 4 to 6 weeks. It's up in the air. And she wants everybody to know that she is fine, but she is taking a medical break for a bit. And so, yeah, in the meantime, you're going to be holding down the fort with us. We might have some other familiar Angry Chicken guest faces come through while Joss is out. Yeah, we're
the announcement of the announcement. Classic Blizzard reveal season.
Is it an announcement, or is it that everyone that comes on here as guest hosts are just wildly talented individuals with busy schedules, and we may not be able to actually lock people in that far ahead of time?
You don't have to reveal how the trick is done. You can just...
I just wanted to compliment you and everyone else that has ever graced this program with their lovely voice and or face, depending on how you get this program.
Well, thank you. I am kind of lovely. I appreciate that.
You are, Hat. You are.
And I had something I wanted to share with you all because I know you're discussing the new name of the show because the Angry Chicken is rotated. So I found out over in one of my other shows, we were running an event and it was multi-server. Player didn't have a Collection America server. They logged in to check and they posted their screenshot of their new player rank. And it was a title that I think would be applicable for the show. I think you should rename rank 44 in the new player ladder the Wriggling Grub.
Okay, less than 4 minutes in this episode, and already we can't have this conversation without Jocelyn here.
No, it's nobody knows wriggling grubs like Jocelyn. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, we have to bring this up. This is important. Also, I don't know how I feel about a brand new player's experience. They grind up and they're told, all right, you're a wriggling grub.
Congratulations, you're a grub. Enjoy.
And you have to earn that. It's not like you even start there. That's not 50. You have to work your way up.
We've never been sponsored by Grubhub, but boy, would this be a good example for that, or a good episode for that to happen. So Grubhub, if you're listening,
you know that segue was seamless.
Oh, well done. Hey, yeah, you know who we are sponsored by? Our patrons. Every single damn episode that we make. And we want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC for supporting us. And yeah, if you like the show, like what we do here, that's the best way to do so. Go check it out, patreon.com/TAC, and get some perks like access to our Discord full of lovely people. I've tried to trademark it. We can't trademark our patrons as lovely people, unfortunately. They already trademarked it for themselves.
Yes.
So, anyways, we've got a lot of new cards to talk about today, but there's also Hearthstone news that is not just new cards. So let's get right into it. This week's news segment.
Good news, everyone!
Hat, we're reporting on a piece of news that I cited you as the source for the news on. Apparently, Classic is coming sooner than Ixar led us to believe.
So I found this out I was in one of the many Hearthstone Discords I was in, and someone posted this update to the classic format patch notes, which apparently was updated March 9th, which is like a week and a half ago, but it was buried in the announcement for Core and Classic. That was, a week and a half ago-ish. And so Ixar was saying in his AMA last week, yeah, you'll get Classic when the expansion comes out. And it turns out it's when the patch comes out, which is next week sometime. We don't know exactly. Speculation is currently either Tuesday the 23rd or Thursday the 25th. You get to play Classic early, as soon as the patch drops. And when Ixar responded about it, he said, guess I was just wrong. That's word for word quote. So, thanks, Dean.
You know, they are people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the best kind of wrong, where we get more stuff faster for free.
You're right. That is if we had to categorize levels of wrongness, that would be the one I would always hope for. Be like, oh,
the smoking gun for the cause this information may or may not be in our Twitch chat currently.
Yeah, Celestalon saying Dean was probably misinformed by me. So there you go, Celeste. What are you doing, Celeste? What are you doing? Why?
He was working on the Oh My Yog achievement, and he was distracted, and he was trying to, and Dean asked him a question, and he answered real quick, and it's like, oh.
And also, speaking of like potential misinformation, correct me if I'm wrong, like we were told that Stone Tusk Boar and Bluegill were staying in standard, but were changing. But according to an Alec Dawson tweet, that is no longer the case. Alec Dawson said that Stone Tusk Boar and Bluegill Warrior will be going to Wild. They will be going back to their original stat lines with Charge. 2 new cards will replace Boar and Bluegill in Core, a Beast and a Murloc, both with Rush.
Yeah, not misinformation. They changed their minds.
Okay.
Like they actively changed their minds. There was a significant response to the early announcement that they would be permanent changes to the cards, because the whole purpose of rotating Classic is to maintain the old cards and then put new healthy ones into Standard. And Rush versus Charge is functionally very, very different. And there were decks that were actively using Bluegill and Boar in some contexts, usually evil combo-y OTK contexts. But you can't really justify this as a balance change, because all of the changes that they're making to Wild are to undo balance changes and say Wild is Wild, the cards do what they do. So it was a little bit inconsistent with the decision. They got community feedback, and they said, okay, you know what? You're right, we're going to change it. So Bluegill and Stone Tusk Boar will be sent to Wild and replaced by the cards we were going to get, which I believe is a 2-mana 3/1 Murloc with Rush and a 1-mana 2/1 Beast with Rush. We will get those, and they found some old TCG art that works to match.
Can the Beast be a chicken, please? Can we request that?
You can request whatever you want. I believe they've already figured it out. Your request has been denied. It was a very fast turnaround. Yeah, it's not a chicken.
It is avian, though. Okay, so is it going to be one of those legally not a chocobo that the Blood Elves ride, or the what's the Barrens bird that never dropped the shit I needed in vanilla?
Tall Strider?
Tall Strider, thank you. Yeah.
Apparently, it also looks kind of upset, so it's going to be like the Vex Tall Strider instead of the Angry Chicken.
Okay, I'm in for that. I'm liking what chat room's putting down. Soldier Hawk wants Angry Goose. Mostly Deadly Pants wants Upset Pigeon. I mean,
I can go with like a Perturbed Pigeon.
You know, being a Florida denizen, you would think I'd have bigger animals or more terrifying looking animals to be afraid of, but I'm honestly more afraid of geese than the majority of animals I come into contact with on a daily basis here.
I think there are animals that can do more harm, but no animals that want to. Geese have like this vicious instinct where it's definitely personal. They definitely don't like you as a person, and they definitely want to like inconvenience you however they can.
They're the Chihuahua of the avian family.
This entire show is just going to be reading Twitch chat and talking about animal names.
Pretty much.
That's all we're going to do.
That's all we're doing
next
today.
Hour.
That's it.
Yeah.
We are called the Angry Chicken. So
Also, the important thing about Stone Tusk Boar not being nerfed is that Quest Rogue is real.
Oh, that's a good point. You're right. I hadn't thought about that. But you're absolutely right. I was going to bring it back around to the fact that I like this just kind of thematically thinking about what it means to even have a core set that changes every year. Like if we have the ability to change cards and we are changing cards, why not just make them new cards?
Yeah. Well, they agreed with you, and they agreed with the community because the community brought up this point, and there have been a few times where Blizz has changed cards before release after reveal because of something going on. Now, the last time that I remember it happening was because there was a casual turn 5 OTK combo that was discovered, and we didn't really want that in standard with Snip Snap and Reckless Experimenter. But this was another one where there was some feedback, and they looked at their current philosophy for how they design Wild, and they looked at the changes they were making. They're like, you know what, that's inconsistent. Let's put it back. It's fine. And so I really appreciate that change. And the Murloc as well. Bluegill was seeing play in various Tip the Scales, Anyfin Paladin decks in Wild. So it was actually significant in changing the format.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy about this quite a bit. Anxious to see what art they pull. And I like that they talked about how they're pulling old art, because clearly like this is a kind of spur of the moment decision, right? So you probably don't have the time to go and commission some art.
Yeah, it just happened. They have to make 2 new cards, or not new cards, but 2 new. They have to get the art and creative and all that together in what, like a week?
Yeah,
that's not a lot of time.
Yeah, although I would love to see a like some official card art done by Sun Glitters. Let's get some of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That awesome stuff in there. Oh, that's right. Golden animations. Celestalon is bringing up in the chat room. I didn't think about that. I bet there's some animators that are real stoked about this. Actually, maybe they are. Who knows, right? Because if you're going from the archives, it might be art that's been like sitting around for a while. Maybe we're looking at like, boy, I'd love to have art of that one day. So maybe you're stoked that you finally get to animate it for a golden card.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue is timeline, and I appreciate that the team is taking on the challenge because it's the right thing to do. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a cool moment. I'm glad that they're like kind of being open about it. That they're just like, yeah, this makes sense, so we're gonna do it. And then also before we get to new cards, we had Hearthstone esports are back. We had Masters Tour Iron Forge this past weekend, which I really only want to talk about how it was the send-off for the Angry Chicken that I didn't know I needed.
There were multiple Angry Chicken sightings on camera. And I will say, was it Glory that chose not to use Angry Chicken for lethal, Penslinger and Angry Chicken for lethal? Because I was upset about that. I think that if you have an Angry Chicken lethal, you should be legally required to use it.
You should, but we got Jalbai versus Turna game 4, which was... it caused a lot of notifications on my Twitter feed. One of them being Celestalon. Yeah, it was honestly, I just felt bad for Turna. It's really what it came down to. Once I got over the realization that Angry Chicken was going to win this game, I was just like, I feel for the person on the business end of this chicken.
I'm gonna just update the title of the show real quick. Business end of that chicken. All right, we're good. Figured it out nice and early.
How many episodes of the Angry Chicken can we put an additional chicken word into is the question. We're going to get accused of keyword stuffing by Google search results. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're here to do today.
If they give you crap, just give them the business end of the chicken.
Yeah. Other than that, to me, these are always a little strange for me because I'm just sitting there dying for the new set for the new standard year for the next expansion. So like my excitement from this was that I just wasn't really familiar with almost any of the players that made it to the finals.
Yeah, it's the players that did well. A lot of what you're seeing in the top 16 and top 8, there are a lot of grinders that did really, really well. A lot of people that are playing a lot of Masters Tour qualifiers, a lot of people that are grinding ladder finishes. They're playing a lot and it's paying off. But also that means those aren't necessarily camera personalities. And theoretically, the people that play a lot and are good at the game should do well. But we're also used to seeing names we recognize, and the GM system combined with just the nature of engaging with Hearthstone content, typically the people that do the best are the people with the widest reach, the widest audience, and they aren't typically pushing for high constructed competitive. So we're starting to see that really significant divide so far between names we know and people that are doing well. But if you look at the Masters Tour qualifier standings or the ladder qualifications, these are all familiar names. A lot of people are people that have been around the block.
Yeah, and if you're more like me, where you don't really keep up on the as you call them grinders, we're probably going to see a lot more of this, right? Because we already talked about the fact. You've been on recently enough, but I don't think you're on the episodes where we were talking about the change to the esports format for the new year. There's a lot more room for relegation, a lot more room for upheaval, and so there's a lot more potential for this to happen even in Grandmasters, right? Grandmasters as a whole too. I mean, you looked at it last year. We saw a lot of very notable names relegate out of the format, and now that there's even more potential relegations throughout 2021 Grandmasters. I think we can just expect this, right? Like there was a lot of when Grandmasters was first announced, there's a lot of kind of debate and concern over just invites in general. And so I think if you kind of fell into the camp of not being a particularly large fan of that, you're probably pretty excited from a spectator's perspective. Obviously, is the only thing I'm talking about here.
Yeah, it's hard to say what's driving the bus between Hearthstone esports right now. I think in general, esports in specific, esports slightly larger at Activision Blizzard, and esports in general, all three of those are kind of, the optics aren't great in the industry right now, or the company, or the specifics of Hearthstone, for a bunch of reasons. And so I don't know what people are excited for. I don't know that there's a lot of perpetual excitement for Hearthstone esports in general, but I think it's better that the system with more churn is going to reward players that are currently playing the game and hurt players that stay less invested. Now, there's still variance that could be a thing, and you could end up with a player like Hunter Race getting relegated, which happened. But I think that it's probably a move in the right direction for the future of the system, but that also means you lose some big names out of the system that was designed to keep them perpetually engaged, and that might mean that we have more people that fall out of the game and don't fall back in. There are ups and downs to it, and everyone has a point in their career where they decide they want to move on, and maybe some people will fall out of grandmasters like Pheno and Orange and build up as content creators that are also still really strong players, or maybe they just decide to do something else.
Maybe, right? And you're talking exclusively about actual pro players falling off, right? Not casual players of Hearthstone, because. No,
I'm sorry. I should clarify. Yeah, I just mean the people that are in Grandmasters or could be in Grandmasters.
Okay, yeah.
Which is like specifically 50 people.
Right. Because the massive blow to Hearthstone esports viewership happened over a year ago now when it made the switch to YouTube. So I don't think esports intrigue leading to a fall off of players. Yeah, that's all I was trying to clarify. I don't think that's been playing a role for over a year now. But shall we talk about new cards?
I like those. Let's do that.
All right, let's do it. So, as we've been doing for a little over a year now in regards to the reveal of new cards, we are not going to talk about every single card that has been revealed since the previous episode. Because let's see, pulling up a calendar, we should have all the damn cards revealed by next episode. So it's just unrealistic. Also, some of these are relatively straightforward. Needless to say, we still have a lot of cards to address today. And I don't see any better way to get started with this than celebrating the return of Kazakus. But this time, Kazakus, the Golem Shaper, and also this time not being a Highlander card, going more the Prince, like the Keleseth route, because Kazakus the Golem Shaper is a 4-mana 3/3 neutral legendary with a battle cry that reads: if your deck has no 4-cost cards, build a custom Golem.
Pop quiz. What are the names of the other two Hearthstone princes?
I forget, and I should know this because they were also a raid boss I murdered 1 billion times in Wrath of the Lich King.
Yes. 3 mana was Tal'Daram, and this card does not have the Keleseth effect, it has the Valinar effect. Just as splashy. I'm sure we all remember Valinar. It was a 4 mana 4/4. If your deck had no other 4 mana cards. He gained Lifesteal and Taunt, which is underwhelming.
Yes. I definitely only mentioned Keleseth because I thought it would register with the most listeners right now, and not because I don't remember the other 2 princes at all.
Yes. But, first of all, Highlander, I think we can take a break for a minute. I think we can chill on Highlander for a minute. I'm glad that New Kazakh is not a Highlander card, because we've been doing a lot of Highlandering, Zephyrusing for a while now.
So we
for
haven't,
a year and a half?
We haven't seen all of the cards, but it hadn't even crossed my mind that we might be potentially heading into a standard year without any Highlander even possible. Well, technically nothing's stopping you, right, from just building a one-up deck.
You can if you really want to.
But if there's not an incentive, there's not an upside to do so. It just hadn't really struck me as possible, because we've had Highlander around so long that to me it just seems like it is an archetype in Hearthstone that we're always going to deal with. But it might happen. There's all of the current Highlander cards are rotating out, and we've yet to see any new ones announced or rotating in. And it sure does, you see Kazakus, and if you're familiar with the history of the card, it sure does seem like a signal that this isn't a Highlander or a Highlander meta that we're about to find ourselves in. We still haven't talked about, by the way, what the hell building a golem means, but there's a 1/1 golem, there's a 5/5 golem, there's a 10/10 golem, but then you're also gonna pick 2 extra effects. All of the effects have not been confirmed, but we know it's going to be like taunt, battle cry, draw X cards tied to these golems that you're building.
So, for those of you that weren't playing during original Kazakus, because that came out that was Mean Streets? Was that Mean Streets? Mean Streets
yes.
of Gadstan, release date. Yeah, so the first Kazakus came out 4.5 years ago, so we should explain what that means. So the original Kazakus was a really, really cool card that was like the prototype for Zephyrus, is what I think of it now, where you built your own potion. So it was a 4-mana card that was in 3. It was a tri-class card, which is another thing that happened back in the day. It's a true neutral now. Don't worry about it. Where you would build a potion that cost either 1 mana, 5 mana, or 10 mana, and you would staple together 2 effects that you would discover. You just smash them together, and you would, some of them would deal damage to all minions, some of them would deal damage to face, some of them would freeze things or res things or polymorph things or whatever. And it was really cool because it would adapt to your current situation, but also based on what you saw. So this is a modernized version of that, where instead of Highlander, they do no 4-drops, which I think is an interesting restriction and pretty cool one. And you make minions instead, and then just staple things to them. And Celestalon has clarified on Twitter, first of all, he was asked for the effects, and then he named the names of them and didn't say what any of them did, which is classic Blizzard tease. So thank you Celestalon, for that. But also, there's going to be kind of like 2 pools how Deathstalker Rexar used to work, a Build a Beast, where there's one pool that does static abilities, like your taunts and rushes, and another one that does active abilities, a battle cry of dealing damage or freezing something or drawing a card or whatever. We don't know what they all are yet, but we have some ideas based on the names.
Right. And old Kazakus was archetype defining in ways, was you saw a lot of play. And I assume we're gonna see a bit of Golem Shaper Kazakus here now. So this is just the type of card that makes me very excited to see. I see the line you're drawing between both Kazakuses, Kazakai, whatever, and Zephyrus. However, that's also it's just much more controllable design pool for both Kazakuses we've seen now compared to Zephyrus.
Kazooks?
Oh, I like that.
All right, Kazooks. Yeah, for both Kazooks. It's like Zephyrus is a technological marvel, and also like a nightmarish programming maintenance task, and also a player experience that has shaped over time. Kazakus has 2 discovers in a row, and they're cool discovers and all that, but you get the idea of what's going on, but the play experience is still different each time. And I do expect the original Kazakus, usually the spells that you were building were pretty above rate. Like you would get some really, really good effects for the cost. For the minions, it's going to be, I think, a little different. Because, say, for example, it's a 5-mana 5/5 with taunt that deals 2 damage to a target when you play it. Like, that's a good card. I don't know if we would play that actively in every deck. So its minions are cost a little bit differently, and the base bodies are fair but not exciting. And so if you don't hit the effects that you're looking for, I think it's going to be less of a slam dunk I win the game that Kazakus felt like sometimes. I like this design a lot, and I love the no 4-cost cards. Keleseth was terrible because you couldn't run 2-drops, and 2-drops define every game of Hearthstone. Here, if you don't run 4s, you can play a 2-drop in Hero Power, you can play 2-minute cards, whatever. I think it's going to be a lot less swingy, and it's going to be interesting from game to game without being completely all over the place.
Yeah. Neutral, that restriction of not having 4-cost cards is definitely going to have a major impact on any decks that are trying to run this. And we may end up seeing, like we've seen in the past, like the Zephyr's S decks that were still running duplicates, but, just assuming or knowing that their archetype would go the distance and they would still get value out of Zephyrus. We might still see the same thing happen here with Kazakus with a few key 4-drops put in and just knowing that you're going to have to delay getting the battle cry value off of this card. So this is the type of card that is exciting to see enter a standard meta. And we'd expect to see some archetypes spawn out of it for sure.
Apparently, per our chat, because someone in our chat makes the game, no, the damage one would be battle cry, deal 3 damage to 2 random enemy minions. Okay, that we play that card. That card gets played. Never mind. This card's awesome.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For a 5, the damage would be a battle cry, deal 3 damage to 2 random enemy minions. It's a little better than deal 2 damage. Goodness gracious. Thank you for the scoop, Celestalon. Appreciate it. You heard it here first, everybody.
I certainly did.
Now I'm gonna
learned something today.
I'm gonna scribble some stuff on a card and send it off to some fan sites as an Angry Chicken exclusive. That's what we're gonna do.
There you go.
We're gonna figure it out.
Hashtag content. Yes. And also, we have a whole bunch of really cool new legendaries to talk about.
Yeah, we do. Let's just keep the legendary train rolling. We'll come back to Primordial Protector here in a second. But let's talk about Paladin, because I am still a host on this show, and we will always talk about Paladin as long as I am here.
And because this card is clucking cool.
It is clucking cool. Cannon Master Smythe? I want to say Smythe. Anyway, 5-mana 4/4 legendary Paladin minion. Battle Cry. Transform your secrets into 3/3 soldiers. They transform back when they die. Dude. I guess I should say dudes, potentially.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how many secrets you have in play, right? Because when I first read this card, I'm like, wait, there's secrets in hand, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is Hearthstone. This has to be secrets in play, right? Has to be. And yeah.
And they have cool tech for this. If you mouse over the dudes, you see what the secrets are, but your opponent does not. So you know what secret it is, but they don't know what it is, because if they knew, it wouldn't be a secret anymore. So you can keep track of like which minion is tied to which thing. If you want your Avenge to pop before your Noble Sack, for example.
That is good design.
Yeah.
That is
so
really good design. What do you, like, hover over them?
Yeah, you hover over them, and so the little flag, the buff and the flag, it shows you what the secret is, but your opponent can't see that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Team 5.
Because just imagine the memory issues with dealing with the order you played the secrets. And all right, which one is this? And you're basically rolling the dice to see which one you get back.
I was unaware of this. Should I have watched the reveal trailer, which I'm notoriously bad about not watching?
What do you think? It was a Chad tweet.
Okay.
This entire show is just Chad tweets. We are basically reading Chad's timeline and also his comments in the chat as live tweets. That is the entire content of the show, and I am here for it.
Don't you read my tweets, Garrett? Asks Celestalon in the chat room. Some of them, yeah. Celestalon, I will. This is not judgmental. You tweet a lot. You tweet a lot. But the design of this card is absolutely rocking.
Yeah, really, really cool.
This is like this is what I look at as like a perfect storm card, where I'm obsessed with the design of it, and I also think it's a good card that's going to see play.
Yeah, it depends. So, like, here's the normal boilerplate that every podcast says in March. We don't know the set. We don't know the context of the meta. None of us have played with the cards. We don't know how good anything's going to be. Maybe it gets support. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they print new stuff in the future. Blah, blah, blah. This card's cool. The secrets that we have in Standard are better than the ones we've had in the past, but we lose Desperate Measures and we don't have a ton of secret synergy cards right now. It's going to depend on if we can get secrets in play, if we want to get secrets in play, if they're good enough, and then if we also have the support here. However, as far as cards that are cool as shit, this is number one. It's cool as shit.
I approve that stamp as well. Yeah, I'm getting, in terms of like the podcast or the content creator disclaimer about talking about card reveals, I'm getting mad like Pure Paladin vibes from this. Like when we first saw the first ever little package of Pure Paladin cards come out, it was like, oh, will it be good? Who knows? It turned out it really didn't have legs right out the gate, but as more Pure cards were added, it became a force that we are still dealing with to this very day. We saw Libram Paladin, the damn Master Store over the weekend. This is the kind of thing that, like, maybe there's enough secret gas to make this go right now, but I think by expansion 2 there definitely will be, because I just don't think you design a card like this without planning to have more secrets coming down the pipeline.
Boy, secret gas is the worst kind of gas.
Secret gas? In some places we call that crop dusting. But nonetheless, yeah. Cannon Masters, apparently Smith, according to Celestalon, because there's also a Wesson coming. Mordresh Fire Eyes, the next card we're going to talk about. This is a 10 mana, 10/10 legendary.
No, just one eye. It's only one eye is fire. It's not fire eyes.
Oh, yes. Anyway, 10 mana, 10/10 legendary mage minion with a battle cry that reads, if you've dealt 10 damage with your hero power this game, deal 10 damage to all enemies. Which means I think we should also talk about this card in conjunction with Reckless Apprentice, a 4 mana 3/5 rare mage minion that has a battle cry that reads, fire your hero power at all enemies. I'm not sure what's going on with noise gating on Discord today, but I know you just said what, but it didn't come through. Still not coming through. Are you just muted?
I don't know what's going on. I don't think I'm just muted. You can hear me.
Yeah, no,
Either way, your confusion about the noise gating is equivalent to my first reaction of seeing this card. Like, all right, I guess this is a thing we're doing now. Now, Fallen Hero is in the core set and is absolutely a mage hero power buffer. But these are the only 2 mage cards we've seen from the expansion so far. I guess we're on to hero power matters. But it's cool. Oh, yeah, Koldara Drake. Also in the core set. Mage might be doing some hero powery things.
Oh, so yeah, I forgot about Koldara Drake, and I remember looking at it being like, why does this get the stamp of coming back into standard approval? But yeah, this does seem to be the reason why, right? I like this design a lot, and there's a nice mix, like this compared to, like, we just talked about Cannon Master Smith, apparently, and also apparently Wesson was not a tease. I guess Smith hangs out with Wesson in World of Warcraft. Wesson is not a Hearthstone card. Celestalon clearing up my assumption there. But you look at Cannon Master Smith and you just go, boy, that's really interesting. What a crazy design. I've never really seen anything like it. And then we look at Mordresh here, and we look at Reckless Apprentice, and like, this is pretty straightforward while still being interesting, right? Like, we've seen design like this before, where if you've done X, do Y. But I like the mix that we're seeing of like a lot of the priest stuff too. Is also, it's pretty straightforward, which is also nice compared to all of the resurrecting shenanigans we've been dealing with for 2 years.
They can't hurt you anymore. They're gone.
Yeah, I've been basically, that's been like my deck for like the last 2 months to get quests done. So I'm part of I'm here at the end of Res Priest and Standard. I have been just a major part of the problem.
And you were so convincing.
I was so convincing, but that, that's, you go long enough, you live long enough, you'll turn.
You either die a paladin or see yourself become the priest.
Yeah, there you go. You either die a paladin or you live long enough to see yourself become a res priest. But Yeah. This is just solid design and a powerful effect.
And I've heard people concerned, a lot of people's memories about hero powery stuff is Baku. That's a lot of people remember Baku. And
that is not where my brain goes. No, it goes straight to Inspire.
But Inspire, so the thing about both Inspire and Baku is that they both did the same thing every time. They were both fairly snowbally. Baku did the same thing every game right from before you played a card. The most formative turns of every game are 1, 2, and 3. And they were defined by pressing the same button every time. Whereas Inspire, they had to power down the cards because when they were good, you hit the button and thing happened. But Reckless Apprentice, it does your hero power one time, and you can build it up with minions that we've seen, Fallen Hero in particular. You can make your hero power better, but your opponent gets to interact with your hero power the way that you do. If they kill the Fallen Hero, then your hero power doesn't get better. You can hold it in hand and wait longer. That's dynamic and interesting gameplay that's different every game. When I play my hero power stuff, how it affects my hero power, how it affects your board, how you interact with it, that changes from game to game, as opposed to Baku triggering at the beginning of the game, and then every turn 2 is the same for the entire year, the entire standard year. So I love that they found a way to make hero powers relevant and interesting and different and dynamic inside the game. The amount of damage a mage hero power deals is now going to change from turn to turn, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Reckless Apprentice, it's going to make it very easy to meet that 10 damage from your hero power that you need to get the battle cry off of Mordresh, but at the same time, Reckless Apprentice as an effect is the type of thing you want to play at a certain time for a certain counter play. So yeah, I'm with you. I brought up Inspire because if you are just inherently standoffish of hero power abilities because of Baku, I think it's worth remembering that we have an equal, as strong of an example as Baku are for being a powerful hero power affecting design. We have an equally as forgettable and hasn't gotten a remake of its keywords since in Inspire. There's examples of both on top of everything you just said. So it's just don't just be afraid of hero power augmentation for the sake of it being hero power augmentation.
And also, we currently have a cycle of hero power altering quests in Standard, none of which are seeing play.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even think about it.
The Saviors quests are still in Standard, and they all change your hero power. I think actually none of them are seeing consistent play. So it's really just a question of how they balance the effect and can they make it interesting. And I would say that Quest Shaman and Quest Druid, I think, are fundamentally interesting decks. Even if the mechanic is relatively similar from game to game, but how the games play out is different. And this is, I think, an even more interesting approach to it of, clearly this is a hero power matters thing, but if you're just jamming 2 mana deal 1 mage ping all turn, you are not going to make it to Mordresh, and your Reckless Apprentice is super mediocre. But if you have some synergy and you build towards a specific goal, you're going to have a really powerful payoff. I like that a lot. Yeah.
All right. Joss isn't here, and so we can talk about Demon Hunter.
All right.
Let's talk about, I'm going to mess up so many pronunciations today, Kurtrus Ashfallen, a 4-mana 3/4 legendary Demon Hunter minion with a battle cry that reads, attack the left and rightmost enemies, outcast, immune this turn.
It's cool and weird.
It is
also
cool.
This is Kurt. We're calling him Kurt.
Kurt. Oh, you're going to call him Kurt. Okay.
Yeah.
Russell?
I'm not going to say all those syllables.
Oh, Kurt Russ. Oh,
Kurt Russ?
It's Kurt Russell. Oh,
yeah.
My brain. This card is cool. It's a little weird. Is it weird? I don't think it's weird because it's Demon Hunter. So to me, I just go and it's this is consistent with Demon Hunter kind of feeling like they're cheating. I'm not doing a bit. They do kind of feel like they cheat. Outcast kind of feels like you're getting away with something. And also just the way some of the cards control the board feels like it kind of goes against our understanding of how Hearthstone is supposed to work, right? So to me, I'm just this seems really on brand for a Demon Hunter design.
I guess so. Demon Hunter cards, they hit things. You play them and they're like, I'm angry, vengeance, hit, whatever. But if you put your thumb, if you mentally replace the green with red, and you call this card a Restless Mummy, it's about the same. It's roughly about the same. Can you hear that siren in the
I
background?
definitely can. Yeah, they're coming for this Demon Hunter card. They're very concerned about it. But okay, that's a good point. But 4 mana though, like this doesn't ask much of me, and it has such an upside for Outcasted. I don't think it's overly powerful by any means, but it is definitely, I think, worth its legendary status.
It's a cool card. I'm glad we don't have to play against 2 of them, but also as a standalone threat, if I'm playing against your Res Priest deck, and I play this card, you're like, nice 4-drop that deals 3 damage to me. I'm just not even going to spend a removal spell on it. It's good if you're trying to control specific boards of small minions spread out evenly from left to right. Your opponent can also decide to put big things on the ends, and maybe there's other positioning matters cards. But it's cool. It's interesting. When you outcast it, it's a reasonable removal spell. Otherwise, it is a multi-shot. And multi-shot is not a card we were playing a ton of.
That's a good point. But again, it leaves a body behind, and Demon Hunters have plenty of other ways of dealing board-wide damage. And so this, even if you are beefing up your outer edges, you could soften it up with this and then actually combo it. And again, leaving a body behind is worth something again on Outcast. But
it's a funky card. I think it's hard to evaluate, and it's going to depend a lot on the texture of the format as well.
I mean, I
want to try it out.
I think, we've both been doing this a while, Hat. I don't think it's ever been harder to evaluate what the hell the game is going to look like come the new standard year, because of we're losing so much, which always happens with the standard year, but we're also injecting the core set. So much of base Hearthstone is changing in a way that we've never seen before, just period. This is a historical moment in Hearthstone's life.
And can we take a minute to talk about the other Demon Hunter card here? Because I think every single person that I've shown this card to is like, so that's a Hunter card, right? No, it's a Demon Hunter card. Look at that card. Razorfen Beastmaster.
Oh, wait. You're right. Yeah. Just
you thought that was a Hunter card, didn't you?
No, yeah. I did not. It didn't really strike me because I've trained myself to look for the tribal tattoos on card frames. But it sure does look like one, doesn't it?
3 mana, 3/3, Death Rattle, summon a Death Rattle minion that costs 4 or less from your hand. Since when does Demon Hunter do Death Rattles? That's a new thing.
Since now, Hat.
Since now. It's so they're clearly trying new stuff. We're clearly going to get to redefine and figure out what's new this year and what's new with each class. And Demon Hunter in particular, their original identity was draw cards, deal damage. And while that's very clear, those are also the best things to do in a card game. So maybe they can do some other stuff. I'm down with that. They can do other things other than drawing cards and dealing damage. So like, I'm cool. I'm all about seeing what the Death Rattle thing is about. But we can't rely on preconceived notions of Demon Hunter because I don't think it's going to stay the same.
What is it though? We've been talking about for the year now that Demon Hunter doesn't really have an identity other than it is good. Like they kind of do a little bit of everything and they do it fairly well. So.
Yeah, we're losing a lot of the really good damage cards. We're losing a lot of the cheap disruption cards. I think we're going to continue to see the focus on like weaponry and attacking, but one of the really cool new cards that got revealed that I think we'll talk about in a bit is a Demon Hunter card, and that might give us some direction too.
Yeah, I agree, and I want the weapon. I was hoping the weapon would kind of stay to be a thing because to me that was kind of the standout, but they were just doing so much other kind of normal Hearthstone things very well that are usually kind of key points of other classes. So that's just kind of where my brain is. They've always been kind of muddled for me. But let's jump around a little bit and continue talking about legendaries while we're on the subject of legendaries, and let's talk about is it Barak or Barak Kodobane?
It's Kodobama.
Barak Kodobama. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I like that. I like that.
So that way, when we play it and he draws us the lock and load and the cards that we need, we say, thanks, Kodobama.
Whatever we end up saying, Kodobane is a 5-mana 3/5 legendary hunter minion with a battle cry that reads, draw a 1, 2, and 3 cost spell. Yes, please.
Remember how we were told instead of generation there's going to be card draw? Exhibit A, right here. Because we're not generating these spells, we're not discovering these spells, we're just yanking them out of the deck and drawing 3 cards.
Yep. This is not generation. This is draw and targeted draw. Quite targeted draw. It's targeted mana cost and targeted card type, and that it's a 1, 2, and 3 cost spell. So I love tutor effects. I always have. I get really excited about them. This just seems like a very good one, attached to a decent body for the mana cost.
I like cards that draw 3 cards, and the body is fine. And I don't know if we're going to be looking for specific spells, if we're going to get our lock and loads, we're getting a specific secret, or if we're just grabbing a tracking and just having more stuff to do, if we're grabbing tracking and quick shot and deadly shot or something. I don't know. It draws cards in Hunter. Awesome. Let's do that.
Well, yeah, and just think about all the cards that you just mentioned. There's options, right? Like, regardless of, I think, where Hunter lands, they're probably going to land with some 1 cost, 2 cost, and 3 cost spells in their deck.
You can build a deck to get the same thing every time from this. You can also build a deck to just get cards from this, and both are probably worth doing. So I expect this card will see heavy play in any kind of Hunter deck that isn't just straight face. And even then, I don't know, get Arcane Shot, Quick Shot, and some 3-mana damage spell. That's not Kill Command or Animal Companion because they're gone.
Yep.
Or Unleash because that's gone.
And it's Hunter, historically the most competitive archetypes to choose from, too. So this may just find a home in all of them, depending on how they play.
Card draw good.
Yeah. So now I want to backtrack a bit to talk about Primordial Protector because it's more targeted draw. So Primordial Protector is an 8-mana 6/6 epic neutral elemental with a battle cry that reads, draw your highest cost spell, summon a random minion with the same cost. I'm so glad
Is that you? Is that you, Spiteful Summoner?
A little bit, yeah. I'm so glad that Mordresh isn't a spell in Mage.
Yes. I'm glad the puzzle box is rotating.
I mean, I was already glad, but thank you for giving me another reason to be.
Yeah. Do we have good 9-mana spells in Standard? I think we actually don't have that many 9-mana spells, which is kind of where this wants to be. But the drawing a survival of the fittest seems pretty good.
I mean, yeah, 8 mana. Doing this with an 8-mana spell wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either.
Well, it's funky, right? Because it's a card draw / tutor / also board development. It's nice that you don't have to choose between those things, and 8 mana is still kind of an awkward cost, and you could just whiff and die. But also, if it hits, then you generated both value on the board and value in hand for a specific effect happening in the future. This seems good. Seems a good card.
It does. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I look at this and I go, I think if any decks end up with high cost spells that they definitely want, this is worth consideration. So it's just, these type of effects are just always so strong historically. So, and
even more so, I'm spending right now, I just look at this card. Every time I look at this card, I just sit there and think of deck list ideas. And I think that's kind of what you want a card to do, especially this early in the reveal season. Of you show it and looking at this card, you see the universe of decks that it enables behind it. That's really cool. And it can create some consistency, maybe too much, but you have to find this or a really high cost spell and survive that much. And Hearthstone is a better game when you have some consistency to do your cool thing every game, but not when it's the only thing that you do all the time.
Right. And they've learned a lot of lessons, right? We've kind of seen the Team 5 war on over inclusion for years now. Like going back to first one I can think of is Azure Drake, where it was in too many decks and they came for Azure Drake and it worked. So this is the one where it's like, I don't think this is definitely not worth it in every deck, but I think it's going to be worth it in enough. So I don't think we're going to have an epidemic of Primordial Protectors, but
card that you can really build around if you want to, and if you do, it's probably worth it. But it doesn't. I don't think that it will be meta defining, but I think it will be deck enabling, which is the sweet spot that you really want stuff to be.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some cards that I just think have cool designs. Sigil of Flame, a Demon Hunter card we haven't talked about yet. It's a 2-mana epic Demon Hunter Fell spell. At the start of your next turn, deal 3 damage to all minions. So
this is new text. This is a new thing that we're doing in Hearthstone. And apparently, per the usual source, a Chad tweet, this uses the secret space, but is not a secret. Both players can hover over it and see it, because demon hunters are very blunt. They don't have secrets. They tell you what they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to be some sort of UI element where we're used to looking for secrets that will denote that this is going to happen next turn. I mean, the design of it is very secret-esque, right? It's just not a secret.
Well, we associate this effect with secret, but it's like you can also look at, say, a corruption or corrupting mist, that sort of thing, or a doomsayer, and it's got that same kind of vibe as well. Or also like the side quest, like Sanctuary. And this is just a side quest with no condition other than wait a minute. And so I like that you know when it's going to happen. I like that the opponent can play around it at times. It's almost like dormant. It's like Imprisoned Observer.
Yeah.
So it just happens right away.
Yeah, it's like everything you just mentioned. Doomsayer, Dormant, Secrets. There's a little bit of all of that here, which I just always makes my card design brain nerd out, because I love looking at something and like seeing the heritage of where the card design came from. And there's just a lot on display here. And I'm with you. Like, I like the puzzle that this sets up for your opponent to have to play around, right? Because of the delay, you know when it's going off, you have time to attempt to act accordingly. And depending on what type of scenario your board is currently in, you might be able to make it so that the Demon Hunter doesn't get value out of this. But there's that balancing act, right? It's like, well, do I not play into this too strongly? Because if I just leave an empty board, well, I'm just handing initiative back to my Demon Hunter opponent, and all they're out is 2 mana and a card.
Of the class identity here too, of just like, is that a secret? No secrets, only damage. Demon Hunter, no secrets, just damage. It's very on brand. And Vengeance Demon Hunters, they have 4 sigils in World of Warcraft. They have Flame, Silence, Misery, and Chains. So I wonder if we're going to see the full cycle of all of those things.
Silence, please.
They are moving away from mass silence in a really major, visible, obvious way. So I'm assuming that we're not going to get some kind of global mass dispel. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
What if they go like hero casting spell route though, with like what silence means in Warcraft? Like, what if it increases mana cost, which is something Demon Hunters have already done in the past? Or,
a Sigil of Loatheb.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, but they rotated Mana Burn. It can't hurt you anymore. It's going away.
But what if the sigil, the silencing sigil does something similar? You know?
Well, we don't know yet. Let's look at glass half full.
The fact that it exists, I don't think there's any way you make the silencing one, and I'm like, yes, I'm so glad this exists, unless I'm playing Demon Hunter. So.
Yes. But they could just not make it. Like, they don't have to make every WoW ability into a card.
There's nothing saying that, although Celestalon's excitement and typing sigils with a plural S in there is, I'm just going to start, I've been doing this since Celestalon ever started showing up in our chat room, divining things and just assuming cool things are happening anytime Celestalon gets excited.
I'm guessing if they made a new UI element that they didn't do it just for the one card, that there are probably more sigils.
That is astute of you.
Yes, because dev time costs money.
All right, let's talk about Horde Operative, another card that I think is just a really, really cool design. 3 mana, 3/4, rare neutral minion. Battle Cry, copy your opponent's secrets and put them into play. If only this worked on like the 3/3 dudes that I make as a paladin from my secrets. That'd be interesting.
That would be a rules nightmare, but also interesting.
That would be interesting. I would assume that's not the case, but it'd be cool if they were like technically still secrets.
So is this better than destroying the secrets? I have no idea. You know what they are, and you also get them.
I think it's my gut, without thinking on it too hard, is that yes, it is better than destroying them. You're gaining value. rather than just removing it from your opponent.
But they still keep their value. I don't know. My gut is, one, this card is cool. And
Yeah, that's
two,
true.
if they're printing a neutral mass secret hoser, I expect there are going to be some significant secret synergies that they are expecting in standard. Because Secret Mage lost a lot of stuff in rotation. It's losing Arcane Flak Mage, it's losing Cloud Prince, it's losing Ancient Mysteries, it's losing Flame Ward. But they printed Occult Conjurer recently, and Arcanologist is in the core set. So clearly there's some expectation of secrets being a thing. And this card says, we think secrets should be a thing, but if they're better than we think they are, then play this card. This is definitely a safety valve.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it more, it's a major, it depends, I think, scenario on whether this is better than destroying them or not. I think I got carried away with just being, I want this to be the way we deal with it because of just how interesting that makes the board state. You're just in this secret stalemate of whatever, say I'm the opponent, I'm staring down a Christmas tree. Well, once I play this, my opponent now has to make the exact same considerations I'm making, with slight variation based on what's on board already, right?
There will be a Trollden video where someone horde operatives an entire Hanar Christmas tree, and then some wacky stuff happens. Ooh. That's going to be a thing. Because Hanar games are already goofy, and now it's like the double Hanar. Yeah. And the title of that clip will be, Hanar, Are You Serious? All right, we figured it out.
There's going to be a lot of competing potential episode titles with you being on the show for the next few weeks.
I'm looking forward to that challenge, but this episode is set. That was figured out already.
Okay.
Don't touch the
Are you
business end of that
serious,
chicken.
though?
All right, it was good, but don't touch the business end of the chicken.
I'm just asking, Hanar, you serious?
I was. And I am. I will be again.
All right. You want to talk about Light Shower Elemental, a new priest minion that was revealed. 6 mana, 6/6, rare priest elemental with taunt and death rattle. Restore 8 health to all friendly characters.
First of all, this card good. I just want to play it in priest decks if we're doing minions. To the point where I think if they are designing priest in the girthy defensive minion, if that's the approach they're taking, I think priest just got a lot more interesting. Because this could have been a paladin card in another world. You could have made this card a paladin card 2 years ago, and it would have made sense.
I think there's an argument you could probably still make it a paladin card.
You could probably do it now, and we would be like, okay, that's cool.
Maybe it's not an elemental because they just don't really get elementals, but.
No, they do. The hammer of the Naru, the 6 mana 3/3 weapon, they just got to make the 6/6 elemental. That was like last set.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So it has a lot of the same elements here. But yeah, that was intentional. I meant that. But also, it's who's going to be the first person to call this Golden Shower Elemental on a broadcast? Because it's going to happen.
This is technically
and yes, that is why I wanted to bring it up. So it was me.
It was you. Congratulations.
That's really exciting.
Is that really the accolade you want?
It's the one I have.
It's the one you deserve, Hat.
Thank you? Question mark? Nah, it's fine.
God.
Yeah.
Well, I just hope the text doesn't. Oh wait, I guess it tells us the flavor text. I was going to say, I hope the flavor text isn't a R. Kelly reference, but
no, they didn't want to piss anyone off.
I'm just going to roll of toilet paper right past that. Heyo. And then we got some cards announced like right before we went live today. I really, really want to talk about Yoink for Rogue. So Yoink is a 1 mana epic rogue spell that reads discover a hero power and set its cost to 0, swap back after 2 uses.
Flavor text is very important. The flavor text is saying the spell's name makes it work better. And first, that's obviously true. Second of all, when this was revealed, I just went into every Discord and the conversation was the same. It was just, Yoink? and someone else was like, yoink. And then you can talk about the card. You got to get it out of your system first. But definitely they did it. They made a card named Yoink. I'm very excited. Now, I don't believe you can discover the rogue hero power as the rogue, but I'm not 100% sure on that. And actually, no, the related cards are actually listed directly to the right of the card. There are 10 hero powers. So I guess you can discover rogue itself?
Yeah, why not? Right?
It doesn't say another. Yeah, I guess you could. So think about on turn 1, if you discovered Life Tap, that's 1 mana, draw 2 cards.
We're getting a very interesting clarification in the chat room. So Celestine is saying you can if your current hero power is not rogue.
Okay.
So
it's a different hero power than the one you currently have.
Yeah, hidden text then. So discover a different hero power. Instead its cost is 0.
Okay. So if you discover Life Tap, I think that's probably the best one on turn 1 most of the time. But like you could summon 2 totems, including a new strength totem. This could be like a Lost in the Jungle where you summon 2 1/1s. You could end up healing 4 later in the game or armoring up for 4. There are a lot of decent proactive hero powers. A lot of reasonable defensive ones. You don't really want to play it on turn 1 and then sit on it if you need the dagger to be active. But a lot of these cards are for 1 mana instead of the 4 mana that you would pay for 2 hero power activations. That's pretty cool. And if you play this in turn 1 and immediately jam the button, then next turn jam the button, you can dagger up after that. So you can go turn 1, play this Life Tap, next turn Life Tap dagger. Pretty good start. It's not so bad.
Yeah. And again, it's discover, right? So you're not going to be stuck with like healing on 1.
Yeah, you will always have the opportunity to do something relevant because you will always have choices beyond priest.
Yeah, unless you want to assert your dominance. That's the turn 1 pick is priest hero power. So
your opponent.
Yeah. And then we have fan translated reveals. We want to talk about some of these real quick.
I do. So these cards. So there's a Korean video that's supposed to come out tomorrow. That is supposed to be excellent. The cards were leaked early, but it's hard to not talk about these because these are cool.
Yeah. I'm looking at these fan translations courtesy of Out of.Cards. So thanks to them for doing some fan translations. So take exact card wording and definitely card names with a big old grain of salt. Because the names do tend to change when we get translations like this. But there's some interesting stuff in here. Let's start with legendaries, which is what we've been doing today. What has been fan translated to Tamsin Rome, 3 mana 1/3 legendary warlock minion. Whenever you cast a shadow spell that costs 1 or more, add a copy of it to your hand. It costs 0.
Spooky.
Yeah, this is a scary card. We haven't seen a ton of spell school synergy. This is a big one.
And also, for you wild players out there, the current theory is that Power Overwhelming is a shadow spell. So enjoy your reverted arcane golems and your double casted Power Overwhelmings. Yeah.
We're going to see something in that changed after a year of people talking about it on Reddit.
Yeah, no, this card is too slow. What I just described is way too slow for Wild. Way too slow. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about random 11 burst damage from hand because that's not good enough. Because Wild is a silly place.
You don't have to worry about it because you don't have to worry about it. Like, why are you worried about that?
Exactly.
You have so many other things to be worried about.
But this is a cool card, and I am curious to see what we end up using it for. It reminds me a bit of Zentimo, except with more flexibility. And if the shadow cards are good, then we'll end up playing this for value. But it's only this turn, and you have to generally assume you're playing this next to the shadow spell that you want, and then this is going to die. So is it worth 3 mana to twin spell a single shadow spell, or is there some way to keep this alive?
That is the operative question. We did get 2 other shadow spells revealed, and one of them is only 1 mana, Grimoire of Sacrifice. Common Warlock shadow spell. Destroy a friendly minion to deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. It's not the most exciting thing in the world to combo with the legendary we just talked about.
Nope, but it's really nice with Nerubian Egg, which they did reprint.
Yes. And then also Soul Rend, 4 mana, rare Warlock Shadow spell. Deal 5 damage to all minions. Destroy a card in your deck for each killed. Definitely don't think I want to be comboing this with the 3 mana legendary on, not just because that's then 7 mana I need to account for, but also a lot of potential dead cards in my deck.
This is... I don't know what it is exactly about Hearthstone players and deck destruction that causes extremely heated interactions. People do not like seeing cards get burned. I think this card is likely pretty strong, and there will be some decks we don't play it in if you really care about hitting, like if you're plan on going to Fatigue, if you plan on the value of the cards in your deck mattering. But people get really, really upset about getting Ticketus, and they get really emotional about like when they tracking away cards that they weren't going to draw anyway. And I think that Soul Rend here will probably cause similar reactions, and that people will cut it from their decks after they mill one card they didn't want to mill. But the effect is, the cost to effect here seems pretty strong. Seems pretty good to me.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely with you on everything you just said. I typically don't really care about cards getting burned from my deck, especially in the tracking example, because I just always think about it like, oh, I'm just going to pretend those were on the bottom of my deck and I never would have seen them or saw them in the first place. Ticketus, I get, because you actually like lose to it, and I can understand like socially where it's coming from, because Hearthstone is like, of the card games I played, Hearthstone is the one with the most consistent games that goes to drawing through the whole deck. So it
can be relevant. It can be strong. I understand the emotional reaction, but like Dean gets asked about it every single week on his AMAs. Every single week, like, will you do something about Ticketus? And there's just a big divide between the emotional reaction to it and the current, like, and the win rate of the card, of how effective the card is. And it sees disproportionate levels of play because people like playing with that kind of effect. But I love the design of Ticketus. I think it's really, really well aligned, but a lot of people really despise it. And I think Soul Rend will see less play than it should, also because that second sentence, destroy a card in your deck for each minion that died, will turn some people off of the card. Yeah,
because we were talking about XR's deck building comment last week, and so I was making fun of Hearthstone Facebook, because the Hearthstone Facebook groups I'm in, they all I consistently still see the jokes about net decking being bad and all of the, in my opinion, just old, played out, and uninteresting opinions that go with that. The other 50% of Hearthstone Facebook is complaining about Ticketus, as far as I'm concerned. Those are the only two things I ever see posted about.
It comes up a lot, and I understand the emotional reaction to it. And they've said in the past, if it becomes more popular, if it's 10 to 15% of the meta, that's not something they want. If it's 1 to 5%, like, that's pretty cool. But it's definitely milling cards, burning cards, whatever you want to call it. It's something that causes disproportionate emotional reactions. And so I think this card is strong. There will be metas where you need every card in your deck and you can't play this, or you just don't cast it.
Yeah.
But most of the time, in matchups where you need this to survive, it's usually not about figuring out if you need every card in your deck. It's usually about not dying on turn 4. And this is really good for not dying on turn 4.
Agreed. Well, another Paladin legendary was leaked. Again, take all the names we're talking about today with a grain of salt, but Cariel Rome, 4 mana, 4/3 legendary Paladin minion with Rush, Divine Shield, and reads, whenever this attacks, reduce the cost of holy spells in your hand by 1. So again, more spell school synergy here. I mean, this is just a good card. Like, it's 4 mana, 4 damage removal that leaves a 4/3 behind, and if you get 1 tick of spell reduction off of this, that's great.
Yeah, I want to do this. I would play this over Kazakus, because it costs 4.
I want to know if this is referring to an actual character in World of Warcraft, because that is the most basic Elwyn Forest mace I've ever seen in card art.
Well, so both translations indicate to us that Cariel, the Paladin, and Tamsin the Warlock are both Romes. Roame is the family name.
Oh, you're
They
right.
may or may not be related.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We also
Might be one of those cool, like, light and dark arcs sort of thing.
We didn't just get fluffy tags, which frankly I'm sad about because I just like seeing fluffy on cards. But this card just seems good. And while we're talking about holy spells, Invigorating Sermon was another leaked card for Paladin. 4 mana, common holy spell. Give +1/+1 to all minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. Now, Cariel could potentially discount this.
And this is very, very small survival of the fittest, but it also gets cost reduced. And in the past, when we've had cards like this outside of survival of the fittest, they haven't hit all 3 of these zones at once. It's either hit your hand or your deck or in play. It's a Paladin card that hits all 3, and hitting in play is a really big deal because in the past, playing cards like this would just be a huge tempo loss. You would play it and then you would die because you weren't playing minions. But this gives you both an immediate advantage and a future advantage. Now, it doesn't impact future minion generating abilities or spells like your hero power or like any Day at the Fair. It generates 1/1s. They stay 1/1. They don't get buffed. It's not an aura. But if you can play this and you have a mild board presence, you get a boost now and you get a boost later. Seems all right, especially if you reduce the cost.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this card a lot for all the reasons that you mentioned. I really like buffing, and for like the longest time in Hearthstone, buffing was really, really risky, especially this type of like wide buffs. Like it didn't pan out in a lot of the classes, and it's no surprise if you listen to this show for the past year that I've been really pleased with Libram and with Pure Paladin and how that buff archetype has worked out. Sorry, my cat got locked in and is banging on the door, so I'm riding the mute button.
Yeah, do you have to let the cat in?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'll be right back.
I'll stay here. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Angry Cat. That's what's going on. But yeah, it's I like that they are finding ways for buffing to be something that doesn't just cost you time and cards and value and life. I like that it's something that they want you to be able to do and have it be relevant without it being game swingingly broken early like Keliseth or really terrible like the Mistcaller.
Not sure what you just said, but I'm sure it was very insightful.
Yes, I thought so. Yeah. Yeah, I'm checking the show notes. You thought it was very smart, and you agreed with it.
Oh, great. Yeah, I do write down these things ahead of time, especially when I have no way of knowing what you're actually thinking or saying. So,
yep. But also, I think so. There are a lot of cards that are coming, and the fire hose of card reveals very different from the drip feed that we used to have. We actually have some questions, some emails from the patron Discord, talking about how things have felt a little different.
We do. So let's go talk about some emails.
Hello.
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com, or if you're a patron, just drop us a message in the Discord, and that's exactly what Jolt C did, and wants to know, what are our thoughts on not having a reveal season at all? It's a hypothetical. If the only cards we saw were at the expansion announcement to show off the mechanics, but that was it. No Theorycraft streams, no trickle feed, no frantically jamming refresh on Reddit, just day one, everyone opening packs and actually having to read the cards. Do you think it would take longer to solve the meta or not enough to make an impact? Maybe it offsets the meta by like a day.
If that
is my thought on that. We've talked a lot about preconceptions or popular concerns or changes that we don't really agree with today, and this is another one of them. I don't think not having card reveals or not having theory crafting streams would have that big of an effect on the meta getting sorted.
Yeah, it's think about so that when people talk about the theory crafting streams defining the meta, how many of them mention Darkmoon Faire? Because I don't remember the Darkmoon Faire theory crafting streams really getting us anywhere. It was almost like they didn't happen, but they did.
Has anyone? I've never seen this. Do you know of any post that has actually kind of logged all of the decks that come out of theory crafting and then done a post-mortem on which ones were actually standard viable and stuck around for a meaningful amount of time?
Well, so Hearthstone top decks usually catalogs the decks that they find, and you can see what people are playing, and the clips make the rounds. But so for the past 4 sets, the theory crafting streams revealed a few things to us, and these things they were earth-shattering discoveries. In Descent of Dragons, we learned Galakron Shaman, good. In Ashes of Outland, we learned Demon Hunter, good. In Scolomet's Academy, we learned Guardian Druid, good. I don't think the theory crafting streams really made a difference as to those decks being discovered faster or being more relevant quickly. They were all really, really obvious things that immediately got nerfed. So Darkmoon Faire had theory crafting streams, but didn't really shape a lot of the early meta. And so it's really just a question of what does initial card balance look like? And this is not a theory craft stream question. This is a question about what would it be like to just open the client and get the new cards. And I think the consequences here are to content creators and more casually engaged fans. Because content creators really like, I don't know about you, Garrett. I have done a ton of Hearthstone for the last 30 days and very little of it is in the client. Almost all of it is managing content and tweeting and socials and show production, and very little is actually playing.
Yes, but that's just kind of how things are now, with the drip feed being having gone the way of the dinosaurs.
Well, do you think the drip feed was intended for this and just slipped because of the release date moving? Because it seemed like the release date moved. That's the vibe that I got from this.
We haven't had a proper drip feed in a year, in my opinion.
It was what, Ashes, right? Ashes had a 30 day or so?
Barely. It still felt like Ashes was like 2 weeks.
2 or 3, something like that.
I
don't remember.
Massive card dump at the end on the stream, which is just kind of par for the course now. So we can get into kind of like meta conversations about Hearthstone as a business model and content creation and pre-orders and all that. I was trying to avoid that at first and just have a conversation about how long I think hypothetically the meta would take to kind of shake out. The other thing we haven't talked about is pocket metas, which we already get. We already get pocket metas on day one. You've got Twitch open, you're playing your games, you see your favorite streamer play a deck that seems cool because it's working against the other deck that came out of theory crafting streams that everyone thought was going to be good, but suddenly here we are on day one of the actual expansion. Someone came up with something that's countering it. Suddenly everyone's playing that. And then 2 weeks later, maybe 4 days later, we've all figured out that both those decks are total trash, and we've kind of figured out what people are actually going to be taking to tournaments, what actually is going to get you to Legend, and the archetypes that are kind of here to stay, and also maybe the target of a nerf in a week or two. That already happens, and I think you would just have like a more drastic pocket meta situation on day one. Is all. I think it's just as likely that it could lead to a more stale day one meta than a more interesting one. Because you're always going to have a large group of Hearthstone players that are gonna want to win. You're like, you know what this isn't going to change is people that are just playing decks that work. This is a bad example for what we're about to go into because we're heading into a standard year change where there's major upheaval. But typically, for expansion number 2, expansion number 3, you have a lot of people that also just stick to what is already working because they just want to farm all us people playing decks we've never even tried before. So there's that to contend with, and there's also the fact that I think you run the risk of a pocket meta being more stale because people are going to glom onto the new decks they think are going to get them wins. And I think it's just as likely for that to make it a little more boring of a day one experience as it is to make it a more interesting day one experience. So those are also my other thoughts.
Yeah, I wonder, the feeling I'm starting to get now that I think about it, because the drip feed was so iconic for Hearthstone for so long, right? And it was something where if you go far back enough in this show's history, you will find a young Garrett Weinzierl complaining about the drip feed being too long. You will find that back in the show's archive.
I was wrong.
Well, but there's a happy medium, right? Like it doesn't have to be either it takes 6 weeks or it takes 6 days. There are numbers between those two things. But if this started with Ashes, I wonder if it's because their development timeline has shrunk. They did so much with Ashes. They moved Scholomance a month early. They had to hit internal targets, that, you know, all the work from home stuff. I wonder if the reason that we don't have longer reveal seasons is that the cards aren't done as early anymore. And that would be a reasonable thing. Like, they have more game modes. The team is way larger and beyond work from home stuff. It's just Hearthstone is a bigger game and platform now. I wonder if this is a logistic thing as opposed to an active choice based on marketing.
I don't know about that.
I don't know either. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I really don't know. And from a marketing standpoint, I'm not sure there's any benefit to this, right? Like, if you did, the drip feed had more, it brought more attention to the expansion over a longer period of time. So I'm inclined to go to bat and say that probably gives you a little bit more mileage on your pre-marketing for the expansion. I think it kind of probably splitting hairs, but yeah. I mean, yeah, just like a, you know, personal content creator note, it was just easier to cover it as a drip feed.
Yeah.
Way easier.
And it gave us something to talk about. And really the benefit for these early reveals and for the theory crafting streams is all the same thing. It's not just for the content creators to have something to do in the lead up to keep people engaged with the game, but it's also for players to get a consistent voice about how to evaluate cards they're not sure about. And what do I do on day one? Having an idea of what to do on day one is really, really important. And a lot of people just kind of get lost. See last week's conversation about deck building, a core part of Hearthstone, which I'm not going to rehash, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it's easier for someone else to build a deck and for you to say, I'm going to try that. That looks cool.
I agree. So yeah, those are our thoughts. So what does Hachikumo have to say, Hat?
Hachikumo says, speaking of Hearthstone as a platform, what is a platform? What are some platforms out there that... Yeah, right? What are some platforms out there that it can be compared to, and what are some of the strengths of the existing ones that Hearthstone can learn from? Gosh, this is a big question. I feel like you can say League of Legends is probably a good answer because I think that the TFT button is still in the League of Legends launcher. I'm not 100% sure on that one, though. But I don't know if I can't personally speak to the paradigm all that much of a game turning into a program with games in it. I can't think of anything that's personally experienced that so much, but Hearthstone has gone from a constructed card game to there's a whole bunch of games in your game. I think the first thing that jumps to mind, and it's really only like, well, no, that's wrong. Never mind. No, this is a great example. Call of Duty. Call of Duty has like single player campaign, zombies, traditional deathmatch, and now a very successful battle royale. You could think of Call of Duty as a platform. Call of Duty also gives you the option to install all of those individually if you're playing on PC. So that's kind of what I think of it. I can't think of too many other games though. Oh, and now that I think about it, a lot of them are like shooters. Back in my Xbox 360 day, Gears of War was like this. They had their story mode. They had PvE horde mode. They had online PvP. Halo has done this in the past. It's had its own horde mode plus campaign plus PvP. You get these games that have very distinct, very different play modes where in all the shooters I just rattled off, the core way you interface with the game is the same. You are still playing a shooter. You are still firing a weapon. You are still aiming. Hearthstone's the same way. We're still interacting with cards, even though like the core conceit and the core format of the mode is wildly different between constructed Hearthstone, duels, battlegrounds. Well, really, battlegrounds is the biggest difference, I think. But at least until Mercenaries comes out.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Right? We honestly don't know. It could be very different. It could not be. I'm also keeping a side eye on Twitter right now because Corrit and Celestalon are having a major Murloc pun off.
Oh, the card's been revealed. I was going to bring it up when you were done.
Oh, has it? I've been F5ing and I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. But so, Hachikumo, to finish up, I think this is a large question that is hard to answer, what is a platform is like, it's a really big question. But I think the way that I look at it as applicable to us is that a person like Ixar, Dean, he went from being a manager of one game to being a director of a bunch of managers of a bunch of games, right? Everyone kind of moved a little bit up in the org chart and they added more layers. The team expanded. And so it's more about there's a cohesive vision at the top, but then how it distributes to all these different card games and all these different people that are being added to the team is going to be a different process. Things will take a little longer. There will be points where messages maybe get a little more muddled, but also you have a lot of people in the building bringing really cool ideas to Hearthstone. And the story of Connor Koo is incredible. He was a QA tester that got promoted to game design and was making tavern brawls. And 6 weeks into starting there, he's just like, I'll go make Battlegrounds now. And just insane. And you just get one really talented person with a cool idea in the right place at the right time. And you end up with a complete transformation in how the game is made and how the game is played. And so getting more really smart people closer to our game is a good thing. Even if larger corporations are more awkward and less nimble than smaller corporations, they've done a really great job of changing things and continuing to change as much as they can. There's a lot they're working on here. So I think the idea of Hearthstone as a place where you can go to play something that is either the game that you know and love or something new and cool, I'm glad they're doing that.
I agree. And yeah, that's more or less my thoughts on platforms as well. So are you ready to react to a bonus card for this episode in real time?
I'm ready.
It's the first time we're seeing this. So new card is called No Fin Can Stop Us.
This is wonderful.
3 mana, rare, shaman spell. Give your minions +1/+1. Give your Murlocs an extra +1/+1. Murloc Shaman ain't going nowhere.
And it's also just like a global minion buff too if you want, but the Murloc buffs. And the art is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Oh, I see Finja back there.
Yep, Finj is in there.
Yeah, Finj is hanging out in the back.
By the way, shout outs to Blister Guy. This was his reveal in his video, which he definitely had some Steve Irwin vibes going on.
I will have to check it out.
Yeah, shout out to Blister Guy, host of the Walk to Work podcast. Great guy. And I don't know, this looks... we haven't thought about Murloc Shaman in a while, and Underbelly Angler, I believe, is rotating, but I want to play a bunch of Murlocs and slam this card and then hit people in the face. That's what I want to do. Like, 3 mana, give all your Murlocs +2/+2, like, I'm down. That's a good deal.
I'm very into it, because I probably have a board of Murlocs already.
Yeah. And if you already want to be there, you have your Magic Fin. There will be Murlocs.
There will be, yeah. If Shaman Murloc isn't going, if Murloc Shaman is going nowhere, it's definitely going no fin.
Nah.
Yeah, see what it did there? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm leaving the show title the same. I know you tried. But.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for your emails, for your Discord questions. That's going to bring us to the end of this week's episode of The Angry Chicken. Keep writing in tacpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, you can go over to patreon.com/TAC. That is the best way to support our program here. We really appreciate everybody supporting us over there. Also, thank you to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Want to become a producer? Check out the Patreon. The whole back catalog of episodes. If you missed an episode, you want to hear our conversation last week on our thoughts on deck building and its role in Hearthstone, you missed it maybe, go over to theangrychicken.com. Oh, and also, where did I wrote this down. I want to give a shout out, man. Shout out to Malkodon. I should have asked him the correct way to pronounce his name. But help me with the SSL certification issue on amove.tv. We now have a nice little lock when you go to amove.tv or theangrychicken.com. It is a very old Squarespace site. It turned out some things were out of date. And took a while to find it. So shout out to Malkodon and also Squarespace support helped me. Once Malkodon figured out the right questions to be asking, because I definitely was asking the wrong questions. So big thanks to you for your help there. Everyone, Joss is going to be out for a bit, but that should not stop you from following her on Twitter @JossPlays and checking out her other podcasts, The Gamers In and For Azeroth, where you will also see guest podcasters while she is away. Ridiculous Hat, when you're not on the Angry Chicken, where can people find you?
Twitter.com/RidiculousHat is the best place to find me. And that spreads out to my content universe area, whatever you want to call it.
Cinematic
Two Hearthstone
universe?
podcast. Yes, my CCU. You can find me over on CC, CoinConcede, CoinConcede.com. And you can find me over on you at, that didn't work, at Vicious Syndicate, ViciousSyndicate.com, which is my other podcast. CoinConcede is all about like competitive bridge to casual bridge. And then Vicious Syndicate is a data-driven analytical look at the standard meta. Also, if you like Hades, go listen to Hidden Aspects. That's my other show, and it's about a different game, but that game is fun.
Hades is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone should go check that out. I'm just a big fan of you as a podcaster, sir. As you and I, we talk meta podcasting coming up in the podcasting scene together, and I like the cut of your jib. So people should go listen to your jib.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very proud of my jib. I don't know how to do this segue, so I'm just going to say thanks for the kind words, and I really appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to the next however many weeks I get to hang around here. And hey, Garrett, where can we find you?
Garrett Art on Twitter, amove.tv for this podcast and every single other one that I produce. Brand new episode of WoW Killer went up last week with Taliesin and myself talking about the new WoW patch. We'll have a new Into the Nexus tomorrow. Had one last week. The Heroes of the Storm continues to be a game that regularly updates and is still interesting. So go find Into the Nexus wherever you get your podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Until next week, job's done.
Job's done.